back. A fired federal prosecutor is now suing the Trump administration for wrongful termination. Michael Gordon says his dismissal last month was unjust. The former assistant U.S. attorney says he was abruptly fired from his position without warning or cause after prosecuting dozens of rioters who participated in the January 6, 2021 Capitol insurrection. He says he was notified of his termination with a one-page letter signed by Attorney General Pam Bondi, citing the power of the president outlined in Article 2 of the Constitution. Gordon is one of three fired DOJ officials who filed the lawsuit against Attorney General Bondi late yesterday. And Michael Gordon joins us now for his first TV interview since filing that lawsuit. Michael, thank you for joining us this morning. So let's just start here, if you will. Tell us why. Why do you believe you were fired because of the actions you took in the aftermath of January 6th?
Well, it has to be that, because it can't be anything else. That same week that I was fired, I had just indicted the biggest, most important case in our district, a $100 million fraud against a guy who had been stealing from his special needs clients, special needs kids. He stole $100 million. That also same week, I just received my performance review, where I've been rated outstanding, the highest possible rating, just like I'd gotten every 6 months for the 8.5 years of my career. So it had nothing to do with my performance. Also, the same day I was fired, 2 other January 6th prosecutors were fired. So it's pretty easy to connect the dots, that it wasn't my performance, but rather the fact that I prosecuted people that this administration wanted protected.
So tell us more about that. Tell us more about those prosecutions, the January 6th defendants that you did and your colleagues did prosecute that you believe led to your dismissal.
Yeah, so I prosecuted those cases for 2 years. I joined the Capitol Siege section of the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office as a volunteer. And then for the next 2 years, I prosecuted people who assaulted police officers, who tried to storm the Capitol, prosecuted a man who sought to take congresspeople hostage, prosecuted people who brought weapons into the Capitol. Those were righteous cases. Those were people who admitted breaking the law, or who juries found guilty of breaking the law. I wasn't prosecuted because I did something wrong. I was prosecuted because I enforced the law to try to protect democracy.
Hey, Michael, Sam Stein here. I want to go a little bit broader to talk about your firing and what it means for people in the Justice Department. When Maureen Comey was fired recently, she wrote a letter. Maureen Comey is the attorney in Manhattan who brought the case against Epstein. She wrote a letter saying she worried about prosecutors no longer abiding by the idea of bringing cases without fear or favor. And she thought that perhaps in the future prosecutors might be fearful of actually accepting politically controversial or dynamic cases because they might face retribution from the administration. Like what you're alleging here right now, that you were fired because you had been involved in the J6 cases. How pervasive is that fear, do you believe, in the current DOJ among people who had jobs that you once held?
I think very, unfortunately, and terrifyingly. I hear from now former colleagues and FBI agents every day that they now wonder if they're next. They're looking over their shoulder, wondering about any case they take, and wondering whether, even if they follow the law, even if they do what our jobs are, which is to follow the evidence and the law wherever they lead, that they could be fired just for doing their jobs. We should all be terrified of living in a country where the law isn't what's on the books. It isn't what we can all read and understand, but it's instead whatever the president says it is, and that whim could change. So I think that what's going on is already doing damage to the Justice Department, and I worry that more is on the horizon.
Former federal prosecutor Michael Gordon. Michael, thank you very much for joining us this morning. And you can read more about this case and a new in-depth report on NBCNews.com, authored by our colleague, NBC News Justice reporter Ryan Riley.